Well, good evening, Hazel. Good evening, everybody at home, and welcome to another episode of the Snooker Loopy Podcast on the night where we have had another Chinese World Champion, World Championship finalist since 2016. We've been waiting to see if anybody else would come along and do that since Ding did it back then. Welcome to everybody at home. And as you can see, I am unfortunately not joined by Tom tonight. He is still very under the weather. He is hoping to be back tomorrow. We did have another day off yesterday. He hoped to be back today, but unfortunately, he's not very well. So, but yeah, obviously with the big news story, we just had to, react to that, or at least I felt like I had to. I know it has been a crazy day at the World Championships, particularly in one of the matches. Welcome to everybody at home. But we will be talking about, of course, the big one with John Zhao XINTONG taking on Ronnie O'Sullivan. Obviously, Judd Trump and Mark Williams will talk about as well at some point. And I am delighted to say that we have somebody in the chat that was there for both the morning session and the evening session tonight, so can probably give a good idea of what it was like. We've got Matt, or MAR, or Ma, from Middlesbrough, who very often gets involved in our stream. So welcome, Matt. I know you've been at the Crucible today. One table setup, seeing Ronnie O'Sullivan. Probably didn't go to plan for you, but I was thinking about you today, and I know it must have been very, very difficult for you. But he says, evening, Seema. Well, I've had a good day seeing Ronnie live at the Crucible, but it's never nice seeing him struggle, especially this morning. Fair play to XINTONG, a champion in the making. Absolutely. And, I will talk about it in a bit. XINTONG obviously played brilliantly. Ronnie did struggle. He couldn't keep pinching frames, and I think that's ultimately what caught him out in this World Championship. Was he very rarely got in first. I'd be amazed to see the stats of how many frames people got in first against him, and then he came back and won a lot of them, but didn't necessarily get in and make his own chances. So that's certainly interesting. So Mar said, I'm glad to have seen him win some frames, but his game hasn't been there all tournament. It was always going to take a half-decent player to beat him. Hopefully he's back to go for number 8 next year. I'd probably make Ronnie favourite for next year, given his attitude this tournament, even in at the brink of defeat. But yeah, when Ronnie goes out now, it's starting to feel like, how many more times will we see this? Feels like the end isn't too far away. Yeah, I agree with that, but I probably would have thought that about 10 years ago as well. So never, ever discount Ronnie, or any of the class of 92, to be honest. 2 or 3 more years left in him, I guess. To say I've seen him live is one off the bucket list, absolutely. I've seen him a few times now, 3 times, I think, I've managed to see Ronnie, so very, very lucky. And it may never happen again. Roll on tomorrow. Trump versus Williams will be a cracker. Yeah, absolutely. Are you back there tomorrow, Matt? Why did he change his tip and Ferrell at 4-4 when he was right in the match? Well, yeah. I mean, you can look at it either way. Ronnie wasn't playing well anyway. I think even without changing the tip and Ferrell, this morning could have happened. I mean, he changed his tip again this afternoon and came out tonight and looked pretty good the first couple of frames. I think if he'd potted the red at in the third frame of the evening, it could have been a very different match. But Ronnie's Ronnie at the end of the day. He will always do what he wants. But yeah, people will always probably say that maybe cost him an 8th world title. Maybe it did. We will see. Hello to Jim, who's catching us live for the first time. Good to see you. Nathan Hughes is in there as well. Elliot Slesser has been closest to beating XINTONG. Yeah, and I think Leipei Fan as well. Obviously, Slesser, was ahead for a large part of their match. But it's fair to say I don't think Elliot would have would have made it this far. But I guess you never ever know. And Elliot Slesser beat him in a pro-am about 10 years ago. He beat me in a sort of Rising Stars, Ronnie Snooker Stars event run by Riley's in 2011, I think it was. So, even longer ago, Elliot Slesser beat me. But there you go. Get well soon, Tom. Yeah. Thanks for passing on those messages. I don't think Tom will be in tonight. He has been very unwell. He said he was going to be getting an early night. So fingers crossed he will. He will be back tomorrow, fighting fit, and we will be able to talk to him and hear his thoughts on the snooker from the last few days. If anybody has any suggestions for Cue the Laughter or anything, eBay listings, please let us know in the chat. It'd be great to have a look and have a viewer submitted live Cue the Laughter, shall we say, if anybody has got that. Colin Quish says, we just witnessed the changing of the guard today. Quite possibly. I think it's a little bit early to say that. I mean, XINTONG, of course, won the 2021 UK Championship, so he's got form for this. Ronnie's been beaten by many a player in the past. Ultimately, if Ronnie was at his best, that match would have been a lot closer. And to be fair, I think if it was closer, I'm not sure Zhao had the bottle necessarily to complete it. I think we saw that at the start of tonight's session. So I'm not entirely sure we saw that. Obviously, it'll give Zhao a hell of a lot of confidence, and he might well go and win the whole thing now. And who would go against him after that? I'm sure they pulled Dennis off commentary for Zhao because he kept calling the poor lad shouting Tong. Mars back up in Middlesbrough. In fairness, Joe, even an average to good Ronnie performance would have struggled to stick with XINTONG in that first session. He was devastating in the balls. I do think fatigue will kick in the final. Yeah, I think, it could be very similar to when Kyron reached the final a few years ago. It depends who he's playing. I think if he's playing Mark Williams, he'll probably fancy his chances. If he's playing Judd, that fear factor will come in again, I think. Long Zhuhong also pushed out to 10-8 in the second qualifying round. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? He could have been out in the first round of qualifying. He's been going all the way since then. He is an amateur, of course. But, let's have a look at the World Championship and how it stands right now. Of course, we've got XINTONG into the final session to spare against Ronnie O'Sullivan. There's only been 3 other semi-finals to finish with a session to spare in the last 25 years, and all 3 of them have been Ronnie beating his opponents. He beat Stephen Hendry twice in 2004 and 2008, and then he beat Barry Hawkins in 2014, I believe, before going on to lose in the final. Marv met Judd today. Well, I'm very glad you met your hero there, Matt. You're very well suited to each other. I can't imagine him being lovely, actually. So I'm glad you've got to have a nice chat with him. But yeah, the other semi-final, of course, very, very close at the moment. It's 8 frames apiece. Judd Trump went 7-3 in front, didn't he? And looked like he was really going to push on and take control of the match. But Mark Williams, again, just clawing his way back in to the match. Absolute granite stuff from Mark Williams to be able to keep going in these situations, and a fantastic clearance in the last frame to make it 8 each. And, I think it suits them. Starting off at 10 o'clock tomorrow. If Mark can keep touch with Judd towards the end. I've not been very convinced by Judd Trump in high pressure situations. It's. I think it's going to be tough for Judd to get over the line if it goes close. Mind you, Mark Williams, other than incredible clearance against John Higgins in the black ball quarter final, maybe he's not looked so good under pressure recently. So we'll see. Couple of people saying, why don't I like Judd? It's a long-term thing, really. That's we've talked about it a lot on the podcast before, but I don't like his personality. I think he's a very sore loser. He's not very gracious in defeat or victory. I don't find him likable at all. That's just personal opinion. I can understand why people enjoy watching him play, although I don't personally. He's a bit of a ball basher, I think, a lot of the time. He gets so many flukes. I do see why people do enjoy watching him. He does pull off some incredible shots, and he is undoubtedly a fantastic player. But for me, it's just not my cup of tea. Never has been. Ever since he came on the scene, 2008, 2009. Never really been interested in Judd Trump, and it's just one of those things. And lots of people have opinions on players. Not a lot of people like Sean Murphy, but I absolutely love Sean Murphy. Kyron Wilson, some of my absolute favourite players to watch and to listen to. I'm one of the very few that actually like Sean Murphy in the commentary box as well. So, yeah. Evening, Daniel Knight. Good to see you. Long time since we've seen you in the chat, so thank you very much for joining us. Jim says, question, do you think snooker could survive some changes that make it more televisable? Example, shot clocks. I'm sure eventually that'll probably be what happens, but I don't really see the need for shot clocks. Average shot time tends to be a lot less than 30 seconds. A lot of players have an average shot time of less than 20 seconds. A shot clock would only take it down to maybe 15, but I think that's maybe going a little bit quick. I think you'd see a huge drop off in the quality of snooker then, and then it would lose its appeal. So I can't see how that would improve it personally. But yeah. Colin Quish, thoughts on Wilson's allegations of Murphy before the final session of the Masters? I think it's a little bit weird because he didn't actually say what happened. And then there was a strange interview after the match with Wilson, which felt a bit off at the time. I guess until we know what Sean did, I can't really comment because I don't know what it was. The only player who needs a shot clock is Selby. Possibly. But again, every player plays it different. That's one of the beauties of the sport, I guess. I personally don't enjoy watching many Mark Selby matches. But yeah, even then, his average shot time is less than 30 seconds. So I don't really see how you put a shot clock of less than 30 seconds on the board, to be honest. Otherwise, it really will degrade the quality of the snooker. Daniel Knight says he's disappointed on Ronnie, and the morning session was so bad. Luckily, I was at work, so I didn't see a lot of that. But I could just see the score ticking up and up and up, and that was sad to see. I think Judd is quite cold and has become a robotic winning machine rather than, example, the flamboyant youngster that we saw in 2011 World Final. He's not very characterful anymore, personally. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Chris. as I say, I understand why people like him and might get behind him, but for me, it's just not my cup of tea. Murphy's pleading innocence anyway, yeah. I'm not sure he knows what he's done. Cross-court tennis. Good evening, Joe. Hello. The Tornado Hannard. And thank you, Cross-court tennis, for giving me my introduction there. Matt says, I like Sean Murphy, however, I massively disagree with him wanting rid of snookers at the end of frames. It's in the name, Sean. It's a great part of the game when players battle for snookers. I agree. I don't think that'll ever happen, if I'm honest. Cross-court tennis, nice to catch you live. Nice to have you here. Dave147, Sean Murphy wanting to scrap snookers. Not surprised, and he's the worst by far. Yeah, he is, actually. He is pretty awful at getting out of snookers. He's not a great safety player in general, Sean Murphy. Yeah. Daniel Knight says Murphy should stop being a pundit for the BBC. No, I disagree. I think he's been a great addition to the BBC team. That's just my opinion. I really like Sean Murphy. In the commentary box, I like him in the studio. I think he's been a great ambassador for snooker, and I'd love to see him win another world championship. It was great to see him win the Masters. He played on when needing 5 snookers the other day. I think actually he miscounted. He was interviewed about that after, and he'd miscounted. He thought he only needed 1 snooker to get back into it. So yeah, I think that was just a bit of a strange moment out there, which can happen at the Crucible. I don't actually think he was playing on for 5 snookers. Thoughts on JV saying he's only watched XINTONG for the first... I don't think he meant it like that. I think he meant it was the first time he was commentating on him. I've seen a few things about that. There's no way that's the first time he's watched XINTONG. Because he won the UK Championship a few years ago. I don't think Virgo commentated on that tournament, but he will have commentated on tournaments with XINTONG. I think that's one of those comments that's been took out of context a little bit. I think it's just that he hasn't commentated on him before. I think that's what he meant. It's not like the John Parrott. I've never heard of this bloke. I think with XINTONG at least, he is or was a top 6 player. I think that's what he meant. I do think it is a bit of a bandwagon that people are jumping on about BBC commentators, that they absolutely know their stuff. And to be honest, I would say I'm a snooker expert, but I don't watch all of the tournaments. And certainly I think a lot of people will be like that now because it's on TNT. So, classic Eurosport lot. In my opinion. Do you see Ronnie playing more next season and get mad? I think he will. He seems to be pretty adamant he's going to give it his best. Doherty today asked Murphy if he can play left-handed. Surprised he never said, I've had a 9-darter left-handed. He did mention on comms he wasn't there at the UK Championship. So yeah, exactly. So he wasn't there. So I think it was more that he hadn't sort of commentated on him live, if you like. That's certainly the impression I got from the comment anyway, but happy to be proven wrong if he comes out in an interview or says it over the weekend. But yeah, as I say, I don't think that's what he meant. So let me know what you think about all of the shenanigans at the Crucible over the last few days. What have been some of your favourite moments? I think one of my favourite moments over the last few days has been Steve Davis messing up one of the demos. That was fantastic. Guilty as charged here. Always been a Euro sport, but greater than BBC. There you go, cross-court tennis. Knew it. All I can say is I feel very sorry for you. But each to their own, everybody has their own opinion. And myself and Tom are absolute BBC advocates. And I think we love most of the pundits, if not all of them, and commentators that are on the BBC. That's just how we feel on here. But I'm glad for people that do enjoy it. I just think you miss out a lot. When you have the sort of analysis between frames, you don't get that on Eurosport, and I just or on TNT, I guess. It just doesn't feel the same to me. Even when it's on ITV, I don't feel like it feels the same. For me, anyway. Where would Williams rank in your all-time greats if he won a fourth? Would he enter the top 5 alongside Ronnie, Hendry, Davis, Higgins, etc.? I think he's ahead of Selby. My issue with Mark Williams is, as much as he's had longevity, he's not quite had the consistency of the other players you mentioned there. Ronnie's obviously been consistently a title contender any tournament he's in. I don't think the same can be said about Williams. Same for Hendry, same for Davis, same for Higgins. And Selby, had such a dominant period as number one. But it's very close between Selby and Williams, I think, for number 5. I think you've probably got to put Ray Reardon up there as well, personally. Colin Quitch says, can't watch Eurosport because of Jimmy White. BBC is the home of snooker coverage. Well done, Jacko. I grew up on all the BBC coverage. I never, ever watched TNT Eurosport for the 3 majors. Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, Eurosport do a great job for some of the overseas tournaments. I just think that their coverage is a bit bland. I really do think that. I think Angles is absolutely wasted there. Neil Folds is wasted there. I just find it a bit bland, and the sound quality is always awful. I really don't like the production value as much. But yeah, I know Eurosport has finished. I'm talking about TNT now. But what do you think of snooker or having snooker in Saudi Arabia? But I mean, I don't really subscribe to all of the sort of sports washing comments. I don't think China's got a great human rights record, and we seem to be fine with tournaments being out in China. Sport at the end of the day. What I don't agree with is the build up of Saudi Arabia as a major territory for snooker. But me and Tom have talked about that a lot. I don't think the World Championship will ever go there. I think it's time that the Crucible is coming to an end. I think we have to almost accept that. As much as I don't want it to leave. I think it will, unfortunately. At least for a short while. It'll probably end up back at the Crucible, though. Alan McManus needs to get back on the BBC. He was fantastic on comms. Yeah, he was absolutely brilliant. And it's just a shame because he wants to work on every tournament, and that's why he works for TNT instead. Would a XINTONG win rival Joe Johnson for an unexpected champion? You know what? I've spoken to a few people, and they were backing XINTONG to do very, very well before the qualifiers. So, I guess it would, but we all know that Zhao is a top 10 player. Really, it's almost as if if Mark Selby took 2 years off snooker, dropped off the tour, had an invitational tour card, then came back for the World Championship and ended up winning it. Yes, it would be a remarkable achievement, but actually we know how much Zhao's been playing this season on the Q Tour, getting 140s galore. So I guess in a way, it's slightly less unexpected than maybe Joe Johnson's was. But it's an interesting question. Daniel Knight says, I like watching snooker on the BBC because you don't go to adverts. Yeah, I agree, 100%. What's your gut, Joe? Does Ronnie get an 8 before he retires? I think it's written in the stars that he'll win it, and when he does, he'll retire. Be perfect timing. I think he will win it, but I actually don't think he'll retire after it. I think he'll do something daft and retire after a strange match in the Shanghai Masters or something like that. I just feel like that's more Ronnie. I don't think Ronnie is all about fairy tale endings, put it that way. If XINTONG won it, would he have your everlasting love like Joe Johnson? You know what? I said I would speak about this before, but after the match, the way Zhao spoke to the BBC, I really thought that was amazing, actually. In his second language, obviously. He spoke really, really well and really gracious in victory, really gracious to Ronnie O'Sullivan. I know they shared a hug, after the match as they were shaking hands, and also in Ronnie's dressing room after the game. I was just really impressed. And, to be honest, it's the first time I've really sat down and watched an interview with Xiao XINTONG, and I think after what had happened, that was pretty amazing, the way he spoke, and all the best to him in the final. I really hope Mark Williams can do it. I think him versus XINTONG would be an awesome little battle. As I say, I worry if Judd gets to the final, there might be that fear factor in there for Xiao XINTONG, but maybe not. But all the best to him. And Colin says he could defeat the curse of the Crucible. I mean, it would be our third first-time world champion in a row, which that's crazy, isn't it? I suppose when would have been the last time that happened? I don't think it's ever happened. Have we ever had 3 first-time world champions in a row? I don't think so. I guess Mark Williams in 2000, Ronnie, and then Peter Rebden. So I guess that was the last time we had 3 first-time world champions in a row. Was 2000, 2001, and 2002. So yeah, that's a pretty crazy prospect, isn't it? That we could be talking about the Crucible curse again next year. Whether he will break it, I'm not entirely sure. Whether it will ever be broken, we will see. Who do you think will win it? I thought it at the start of the tournament. I thought Judge would win it. I just couldn't bring myself to actually clicking it on the event prediction. I thought Judge would win it at the start of the tournament. I just have a sneaking suspicion that Mark Williams is going to do it. And I think it would be amazing if he did, considering how he came into the tournament and how he was feeling. Jim's back in Zhao. He'll win one eventually. I think even if it's not this year. Yeah. I mean, you've got to think next season he is going to be back on tour. I think he's going to be at least ranked in the top 32 now. Probably have a little look at that. So provisional snooker rankings. Let's have a little look at where he currently goes up to. I don't think he's on the ranking list yet, but with his, what did he get? 10 grand for the UK Championship, was it? So he's currently on, was it 210? That would take him up to about 28 in the world. So yeah, he needs to win it to get into the top 16, but he's got to get back into the top 16 next year anyway. I mean, you've got to think with another full season under his belt, Zhao's going to be a serious problem for people going forward. and probably will win a lot of tournaments. It feels like Ronnie really needs to get his mental health better before he really gets back to his best. Hurts to see him. Yeah, it's happened so many times in his career. Interestingly, he doesn't run so much anymore. I know that used to be his sort of drug to feeling better mentally. So I wonder if he'll get back into running over the summer. Try and find something there. Who do I think will win against Judd Trump? I think Mark Williams will just get over the line. I think Judd peaked too soon in the tournament, and I think tomorrow is going to be his downfall. Spoke really gracefully. You wouldn't begrudge him a bit of cockiness. No, exactly. But he's taking it all in his stride. Absolutely cross-court tennis. I couldn't agree more with you. That's exactly how I felt watching Zhao in the interview. Matt, was racking my brains earlier, Joe. Is Luca the only European world champion outside the UK? I couldn't think of any others outside the UK and Ireland. Yeah, he's the first one from mainland Europe. I think he's possibly the only ranking event winner other than Michael Georgiou, perhaps, from mainland Europe. Unless Tony Drago won a ranking event. He probably did. Tony Drago probably did. So there's not been many. European champions. Yeah. If they carried on today, Williams was the winner. Yeah, agreed, Dave. I think the start tomorrow is really crucial. That third session, if Mark can come out with a lead, I think he might just do it. But yes, Luca's definitely the only European world champion that we've got. So hello to everybody. We have got about 30 people watching at the minute, which is absolutely incredible. For the Snooker Loopy Podcast, episode 68, not 28, 68, day 13 and 14 review. Go on then, Matt. Give us a little bit of insight of what it was like at the one table setup today and feeling that atmosphere with Ronnie O'Sullivan. Vafai won the shootout. Yes, but Vafai's from Iran. So he wouldn't be from mainland Europe. Ronnie stopped the running due to a knee problem. Does more gym work. Okay, interesting, Dave. I think Ronnie needs a new cue. He struggles with it. I think we need to get past the new cue nonsense, don't we? I think he probably just needs to get properly used to it, personally. Matt says, I'd love to see Mark do it, although God forbid what he might or might not wear in his post-match presser this time. If he does, absolutely. We remember that very well. But I mean, how amazing would it be if he did do it at the age of 50? Just absolutely incredible. But yeah, I would imagine there's probably going to be a new cue for Ronnie down the line. Maybe a John Paris cue. Who knows? To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Ronnie ended up getting, one of these Thai cues. He does love the sort of Far East and enjoys the culture around there. So I would imagine he will probably get one of these Thai cues and try out the titanium ferrule a little bit more. And he'll obviously have a new tip. We shouldn't be surprised at Ronnie's struggles. He's barely played and getting to the one tip. Yeah, I think that's the main thing that I'm taking from this. As much as, I'm disappointed to see him lose tonight. We probably expected Ali Carter to beat him, if, in all honesty. He was set to play Mark Selby in the quarterfinals. We probably expected Mark would have beaten him. So to get to the semi-finals does feel like a big overachievement. Maybe it's a missed opportunity to get to another final, but I'd always say being battered in the semi-final with a session to spare is better than that happening in the final. How sad would that have been? Daniel Knight says, not a big fan of Judd Trump. Yeah, you're not the only one. Cross-court tennis, big standout for me this tournament has been seeing Radzy's hair in person. Extraordinary and the nicest guy you'll meet. Very nice. Very nice. Matt says, yeah, the atmosphere was tremendous, mostly packed, barring a few empty seats. Rob Walker was top draw as always. The guy never ever stumbles on his words. He's fantastic. Just not on comms. Yeah, I mean, he's an absolutely brilliant MC, and I wish we could have him for every single snooker tournament. I'm so happy he has been at so many other tournaments this year, because he is brilliant. He really is. Okay, right. Yeah, Matt says, although I do always get a little worried when the players have to go down the stairs, then walk up. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, I'm very, very tempted to buy some tickets for the one table setup next year. I'm conscious if the snooker does leave the Crucible and not getting to experience that, I think you know, it's definitely something I want to do. Possibly next year. WST Play subscribers got access to tickets today, so well done if you managed to get some tickets. I think a lot of the ones for the final are already gone. Obviously, if you sign up for priority, you can start on Monday morning, I believe, 9 o'clock. So, yeah. If Ronnie would have got to the final, would he even beat Trump or Mark Williams? I think he'd have beaten Mark Williams, but probably not Judd Trump, is the way I see it. What I will say, we're wanting to go back to two tables next year, more so for the variety. Yeah, no, it's a decent shout. I mean, obviously we've done two tables for the last 3 years at the Crucible, sort of sitting in the middle so you can see both. And you know, it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Because you could get some numpties playing, but I suppose you could in the semi-final as well. But yeah, to experience the one table setup, I think is something that I need to do. Before it potentially leaves the Crucible. But yes, I think that is where we're going to leave this little roundup. I didn't want it to go much over half an hour. It's already gone about 40 minutes or so. So thank you very much for joining me tonight. I really do appreciate all of the support, as does Tom. We've went well over 400 subscribers. We will hopefully be back on Sunday morning, previewing the World Championship final. If not, I will arrange for somebody to join me, and we will record that for you to get that World Championship preview or final preview all up and running. So thank you very much to everybody for listening and sticking with me, and all of your chats down below. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you, and hopefully with Tom, on Sunday, ready for the final. Enjoy the final two sessions at 10 o'clock and 7 o'clock tomorrow for Mark Williams and Judd Trump. Let's cheer on Mark Williams and see if we can have the old boy in the final against XINTONG. Good night, everybody.